So this is going to be a little set of knee strengthening exercises that are going to be really gentle, but should be pretty easy. So, and they're also to strengthen and build stability in the muscles around the knees, and then also to do a little stretching in the fronts and the backs of the legs. So you're going to want to find a seat, a comfortable seat, where you can let your back be really long. So not necessarily, we're not trying to like straighten it out or flatten it. We just don't want it to round. So sometimes if I don't lean against the wall, my back will want to do this. So if I lean against the wall, that kind of keeps that from happening. So we're just sitting up um, with some good length in our backs. And we're going to bring our legs right straight out in front. You can have your knees soft, so you don't want to like tightened or anything, but just straight legs. And then we're just going to gently roll our legs out and toward each other. So back and forth, away from center and toward each other. And you can take that kind of slow, just back and forth. You might want to do that for about a minute, but if your legs get tired sooner than a minute, then that's fine to stop. You can stop at 30 seconds or 45 or whatever seems to be a good amount in terms of not wearing out your knees or your legs too much. Just some gentle rocking exercise. And then the next one that we're going to do in seated, we're going to put either some blocks or a bolster. So you could put blocks under your knees, or you could put a bolster. I like a bolster just because it's a little softer and not quite as high up. And then again, you can just keep your feet maybe about hip width distance. And then you're just gonna lift your legs. So straighten your legs. So you're just lifting the bottom part of your legs. Your knees are staying completely supported on the bolster, and you're just lifting and lowering. Maybe 5 to 10 times. Lifting and lowering. And then on the last one, you can lift and hold maybe for about count to 10, and then lower back down. Then you can rest, you can rock them again a little bit, shake them out. And then the next one, you're gonna roll your legs out. So we wanna kind of move from this big leg bone, so you're rolling your legs out away from center. So your knees are kind of facing out, but it's not just the knees, it's the whole leg bone. And then you're gonna do the same thing. This one's much harder. So you're lifting from what you should feel tightening here is the muscle on the inside, right beside the knee. And again, you can do that 4 or 5 times. And it's okay if they don't go up very high. They might only go, your heels may just barely get off the ground, and that's totally fine. And then you're gonna lift and hold for maybe about 10 seconds, and then lower back down. And that is the first set of exercises in seated. And you can build up. So you can build up to maybe 10 reps on each, and maybe being able to hold it for like 20 or 30 seconds. You don't want to overdo it though. So I wouldn't go any more than about 30 seconds on the holds, and any more than about 10 reps on each of those. And then we're going to come up to standing. So for this one, in standing, you're going to bring your feet maybe a little bit wider than your hips. It doesn't have to be super wide though. And then you're just going to turn your toes out on one side, just one side. And then you can reposition your foot wherever it feels comfortable. So what you want to look for here is for your knee, when you bend your knee, for that knee to come right over your ankle. So if that means you bring your back foot in a little further, or kind of readjust that back foot, whatever you need to do. So we're going to bend your knee in the front and try to position it so it's right over your ankle. And then you're just gonna hang out there for maybe 20 to 30 seconds. And after you hold that for a little bit, then you're gonna do the straightening and bending again, like leg and seated, except from standing. So you're gonna straighten your knee and then bend. And again, maybe just 4 or 5 times. So what you're looking for here is for your knee to stay right over your ankle, and you don't want it to come out further than your ankle. So you're gonna stop when it gets to kind of directly above your ankle. And then when you straighten, you don't wanna lock it out. So you're gonna keep your back knee soft and only straighten to where your knee is still a little bit soft in the front. And again, you can do that 4 or 5 times. And then you can straighten and hold there. Again, for maybe about 30 seconds. So these are really gentle. Shouldn't hurt anywhere. Should be just like you notice those muscles around the knees working a little bit, but it should not be painful at all. And then you just switch out and do the other side. So you're just turning the other toes out, doing the same thing, lining the knee up right over the ankle. So again, what you want to watch for here is that the knee stays right over the ankle. So if your knee is in like that, then we want to try to find a way to get it back. So it might be that you let your hips turn a little bit more toward the knee, and that's totally fine. And then again, you can hold in that position for 20 to 30 seconds. Straighten and bend 4 or 5 times on that side. And then straighten and hold again, maybe 20, 30 seconds. Okay. And then eventually, depending on how stable your legs and knees feel, you might want to start playing around with working on some balance. So to do that, you can start at a wall. So just putting one hand on the wall, and then shifting your weight. So again, like hip width distance between your feet, a little distance between the feet, and then just shifting your weight toward the foot that's closest to the wall. And you don't even have to, you may not have even seen that shift. So I'm going to just do it again. So I'm just shifting. So my weight transitions to this leg and foot, but I haven't lifted this foot up at all. It's just there to help me balance. Eventually, you can play with lifting your heel, and then eventually standing on one foot. Okay, but starting with just that shifting of the weight and your hand on the wall. And then you can do the other side, turning the other direction, shifting the weight. Again, building up maybe to lifting the heel, and eventually to one foot. And if you want to challenge yourself and get to the point that you put your hand off the wall and shift the weight, lift your heel, lift your whole foot. But this is over time. So I would start with hand on the wall, shifting the weight, doing that for maybe a week, trying to build up to about a minute on each side. And then the next week, same thing, but lifting the heel, a minute on each side. And then the next week, maybe lifting the whole foot, but still having your hand support and building up to about a minute on each side. Again, there shouldn't be any pain involved. So if any of that hurts, just don't do it. And then after we do the knee strengthening and maybe playing with a little bit of balance, then it's always good to stretch the knees out a little bit. So to stretch out your knees, the best thing that I can think of to do is a half gyros. So we're just gonna bring one leg behind us and one leg out straight. So this is gonna stretch the front of the knee on one side and the back of the knee on the other side. And you could lean forward a little bit if you wanted to. That's gonna give a little bit more stretch on both legs, but you don't have to. And you could stay here for maybe about 90 seconds to 2 minutes on each side. But again, you can build up to that. So if it's not comfortable for that long, start out with 30 seconds and work your way out. And then just switch legs. Same thing, you could lean forward if you wanted to, but keeping your low back nice and straight. So you don't want to pull on that low back at all. So only leaning forward a little bit for a little bit of stretch in the back of the knee, not for any stretch in the low back. And then again, maybe up to 2 minutes on each side. And then last one you could do would be to sit back between both heels. And if that is a little too much, you could sit on a block instead. Either way is fine. And then you might just bring your hands behind you and lean back a little bit. But again, if that puts any strain on the low back, you don't need to do the leaning back part. You can just sit up. And that's gonna give us some stretch in both knees in the front. So, a little bit of strengthening first, stability, and then stretching at the end. And that should help to start to stabilize the knees a little bit and give them a little bit more stability and support. So, have fun. Let me know if you have any questions. Or if any of it doesn't work for you, I can always give different suggestions or modifications. So, see you later.